No, seriously, where's that Dunkin'?
I don't know. It's supposed to be a couple blocks.
I need those. I need donuts
We already
now.
we already sent the order and it's done.
I need
Already done.
2 glazed and a milk now. You understand me? Now. All right, let's do it. Yapamaya Coast. What's your favorite donut?
Glazed.
Hell yeah.
I like a crawler. If you count
I
that.
don't know. I don't know what that is.
It's sort of the spirally one. It's like a glazed donut, but it's got the sort of the spiral action going around the.
So is the only difference is that it's spirally?
I think the dough might be different,
Okay.
but I'm not sure.
All right. Because if that was the only difference, that would be a ridiculous answer. Young Austin Collins, 15 years old, 7-2 here, down a game to Brad Nelson. Already has 2 invitational top 8s on the resume, and he'll play Nicker Wellspring. My favorite thing about Austin, thus far in his young career, very confident when he plays. Not like nervous at all.
No, it's a very professional demeanor.
Yeah. Another chromatic star. Brad's going to sacrifice a fetch land. Brad, Jeskai control Nelson. No more Jund guy. Now he's Jeskai friend. This is a bad look for Brad. I don't like it.
Makes me sad.
Yeah. I like Thoughtseize, Brad. I don't like Lightning. I don't like
Lightning Helix.
Lightning Helix Teferi, Brad. Bleh. Land number 3 for Brad is the Scalding Tarn. We're going to go back over to Austin, who's working his way towards the Ironwork strategy. He'll sacrifice the Chromatic Star for a little bit of mana, draw a card. He'll play a Chromatic Sphere, spinning his wheels as another card's on the way. Looks like a blue mana floating. Yavimaya Coast. And just going to pass the turn. What's interesting about the Ironworks deck, especially against a deck like Jeskai Control that has counterspells and interaction, is not a ton of your cards matter.
Yeah.
You got Scrap Trawler, you got Ironworks, you're trying to put this combo together. Mirror Retriever can get some stuff back. Things like that. Brad's deck doesn't put on a ton of pressure. So both players have some time to work with.
Yeah, the thing is that there's some draws that Ironworks have that just sort of can't get through counter spells.
Mm-hmm.
You can try to get to a lot of mana or try to power through it with Bury Ruin and such, but there's some times where the game looks like this and you've got to try to resolve an Ironworks. It's hard to do.
Well, there is a Buried Ruin and a Mox Hopal.
And post-board, you're playing against Surgical Extractions often, so if you fail on the test, it's just game.
Well, there is Ironworks. And Nelson has a counterspell and a Surgical Extraction in hand right now, so this is going to be a little bit interesting as Collins goes for it. Worth noting, if you're looking for ways for Austin to fight back a little bit, it's got some copies of Negate and Swan Song. So he can try to push through an Ironworks here. There's El Logico. All right, that's Negate. And this is Austin's. Austin doesn't know it, but this is his real chance. And if this doesn't work out, if this gets countered, Brad can Surgical Carcline Ironworks, and the game is probably over.
Well,
it's not like a lock, but
I think Collins probably understands this is a good spot to try to go for it, regardless of the Surgical Extraction consideration. It's not like Jeskai Control is flushed with a whole lot of too many counter spells. It's hard to logic not back in that spot.
Brad have a Braid here, maybe? In response to the... Yeah, he does. He's got a Braid in response to the Ichor Wellspring draw trigger. So Collins is going to sacrifice his other Ichor Wellspring. Add some more mana. He's got 4 colorless floating. He'll sacrifice Ironworks. 6 now. Actually, he might let it die. No, he's got 6. Still with the draw from Ichor Wellspring on the stack. Oof.
Ooh.
Oof. Got an Ironworks from the hand, too. Maybe Collins' plan was to redeploy and keep going.
Yep.
Didn't think it'd be that big of a deal. I'm afraid I've got some bad news.
Yeah, I mean, his hand's all mana, so the hope is maybe you draw well and can keep going. And if not, if you have the Ironworks in play, then anytime you draw any sort of cantrip thing or a Mirror Retriever, maybe you can get the engine going again. Now that's all cut off, and he's dead-ended with 6 mana floating with nothing to do.
Yep.
And no Ironworks for the rest of the game. So winning from this position strikes me as really hard.
I think I agree with you. Brad got a good look at it. He knows exactly what Collins is working with in his deck now. Now, again, Austin has a draw step coming from the Ichor Wellspring trigger, but you see his hand, just a bunch of lands. And I don't know how he gets to where he's trying to go to now. He'll just pass the turn back. Nelson has no fear of the combo now. So he can just kind of play a normal game where I have to be, Scrap Trawler, I guess?
A handful of creatures.
Yeah.
I really don't know what else is.
Jeskai not very good against creatures.
No. 1/1s and 3/2s. It's a lot.
Nelson with the Plains, and now a search for his Kanta. Now it's time to really start sinking it in. Buried Ruin's going to get something back.
Looks like a Wellspring.
And then he's spinning those tires.
Yeah, Brad, I think, gave a moment to think about if he wanted to Snapcaster Surgical.
Might still be thinking about it. All right. There is Surgical Extraction. Now, this is one of those spots where Surgical Extraction, one of those decks, where Surgical Extraction is very good. We see Surgical Extraction sideboarded in far too often in Modern and far too often in general, but against a deck like what Austin Collins is doing, where you can pick them apart and take their key pieces, it's fantastic.
It's also just different in a deck that can kill and counter things.
Also true.
A lot of people have Surgical Extractions in their sideboard for Dredge-style decks and then bring them in against decks that maybe have a key permanent or two, but not enough ways to reliably get rid of those permanents. But that's not an issue for Jeskai Control.
We're going back over to Austin here in just a moment, who's going to have a heck of a time winning this one. He'll draw a card. The tough thing, too, here for Collins is that he had a pretty good setup on the turn he wanted to go off. He had a backup Ironworks. He had a negate to protect the first Ironworks.
A lot of mana to work with.
Yep.
Yeah, he had a really good setup. Brad with just 4 lands in play, but able to fight through everything. And now we're just not totally sure how Collins is supposed to proceed.
Yeah, I think that of the cards I'm looking at in his deck, the one way for him to maybe try to get back into this one is Sai, Master Thopterist. But again, he's playing against a deck in Jeskai Control, which is so good against creatures that I'm just not sure. You know, something like a Scrap Trawler. Okay, gone. Path to Exile. No lands for Austin's to search up. Brad will trigger the search for his Kanta. Happy to draw that card. Attack here for 2. Austin picked up a copy of Inventor's Fair. The card that let me win bingo yesterday. Here's a Buried Ruin. And these are the kind of exchanges you see Brad quickly acknowledge that.
Yeah,
it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Feel free to get back that Mind Spring. Play your Inventor's Fair. It's all good with me. Brad was thinking about maybe doing something on Austin's end step. He'll take a look at the top card with Search for his Kanta, draw it again, so looks like he found a negate this time. Brad just building up a control wall now. Here's Ancient Stirrings. Negate's going to counter that. You might think to yourself, you can just counter what comes after the negate, but...
If it's a creature, not necessarily.
Yep. Nelson is going to mill over. Supreme Verdict certainly doesn't need that right now. The Snapcaster's going to keep trucking on in, play a Colonnade to maybe increase the clock. We head back over to Austin Collins. It'll be a Grove of the Burn Willows as the land for the turn. Ooh, Spine of Isha, perhaps? Yes, we'll take a look at this. Brad doing the same. This is a new inclusion into Ironworks that they play as a one of. 7 mana. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target permanent. When Spine of Isha is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, return it to its owner's hand. They have the ability, do Ironworks players, to destroy all of your permanents.
Yeah.
In combination with an Ironworks. It's also a nice answer to a problematic permanent like a Thalia or who knows what. An expensive way to do it, obviously, but
Rest in peace, Stony Silence style cards.
all stuff like that. Chromatic Star here for Austin Collins. Brad waiting patiently with the Hieroglyphic Illumination in hand to cast, as well as Kanta, the Sunken Ruin, to activate. Inventor's Fair will be activated. I can't wait to see what this will be. Mirror Retriever. This is a hard way to do it, folks.
Try to retrieve the spine.
Oof.
It's a long ways away.
Yeah. We'll see if Brad lets Mirror Retriever resolve. If he tries to find an answer or doesn't even seem to mind, we'll see. Looks like he'll tap 6 mana. It'll be Snapcaster Mage plus Cryptic Command. He's going to counter and bounce his own Snapcaster. Very Nikolic-esque.
Save that for later.
Yeah. There's Inventor's Fair past the turn back. Brad just grinding Austin into the dust here with these Snapcaster Mages. And that's probably good too. We are all done. Brad Nelson going to win this game match here over Austin Collins, 2-0. Jeskai Control appears to have won this match. I want to make sure, though, because players did not extend the hand. I want to make sure we do have our score correct. And we do as Brad reaches for the slip. So that'll take care of this game, round, and match. As Brad